I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the Hamlet of Beavercreek Town Hall meeting. This meeting is being conducted via Zoom. It is January 27th of 2021. It is 7:02 p.m. And do we have any visitors at this time, Katie?
We do.
We do.
We have Cindy Hilliard.
It's Mark and Cindy Hilliard. Wonderful. Well, then I'm not going to do introductions because I know they know us and we can save a little time there. So we're going to start right out with our guest speaker, which is our town hall guest speaker, Katie Wilson, our staff liaison. And primarily we'll be chatting with us about the merger on the Caris CPO, but we can ask any questions. We can bring stuff up afterwards. So what do you know, Katie?
So what I know is that the board approved the merge of the Caris CPO with the Hamlet of Beavercreek unanimously. It was something they were really excited to complete, and it was probably one of the quickest policy sessions I've ever done. So that was exciting.
Well prepared. Thank you, Katie.
And so that went really well. We have notified planning, and so now they had been sending those temporarily just to the Hamlet for the Caris CPO, but now it is an official process for them that now anything that is Caris is also Beavercreek, and GIS has merged the two together on the layer of the map. And so what I haven't done yet is I think you guys finalized the naming of the Hamlet.
We did. We're just going to stick with the Hamlet of Beavercreek, but
okay.
We will be, maybe on different, maybe like letterhead or something. We'd like to do something along the lines of serving the communities of Beavercreek.
That's a great idea.
Fisher's Corner, Caris, so that maybe we can do a more minor type of like South Oregon City, just identifying areas that we are. So that will be something we'll kind of work out as we do things like letterhead and stuff.
Sure. So we will, GIS is still finalizing the updates to the map that we talked about at the board meeting. So I'll go ahead and have them change the name too, so that's all taken care of. And so now if anyone who perhaps might live in the Caris area uses the C map to look up their address, it will show that they are in the Hamlet of Beavercreek.
Great. Bill?
Yeah.
Well, I just want to know about the Beavercreek Caris CPO, because while the Beavercreek CPO was taken over by the Hamlet of Beavercreek, and the Hamlet of Beavercreek agreed to take over the CPO functions for the Beavercreek CPO, we need to straighten out in our bylaws, and perhaps, I don't know how, because this the CPO is already dissolved or become inactive, but we have to figure out some way of representing the Caris CPO if the Hamlet of Beavercreek ever dissolves. So that's something that we need to address in our bylaws so that we can let people know that if the Hamlet of Beavercreek dissolves, you still have representation.
And if you'd like me to get clarity, Bill, from County Council before you guys draft your bylaws, I can, to figure out if that means that if the Hamlet were to dissolve and it was just the CPO, I'm of the impression that the boundaries are still going to stay the same and it's still one big CPO, but I am not an attorney, so we probably should double check. And if you'd like me to get clarity before you take the time to draft anything, I'm happy to do so.
That would be helpful, because we don't want to put stuff in our bylaws that we have to pull out of our bylaws.
Sure.
The commissioners.
Happy to do so.
Katie got us some numbers, I guess, from the census that were nearly 10,000 now, and that's a lot of people. So that I was pretty surprised by that. I didn't quite expect that many. So I think our media program is going to be rather helpful in the future. Anyway, anything else on the merger, Katie, that you wanted to report? Yes, Bill.
I just wanted to ask Katie, I sent Katie a message, or an email rather. Do you have any idea about the area that we have?
I don't, and I put an ask in to GIS to ask them if they could give us an estimate, and I haven't heard back yet, because I
Yeah.
I mean, I could estimate based on the scale on the map, but they could probably tell us much more quickly using their tools.
Yeah, I was just curious because we have a fairly large area now, and I'd just like to know how big it is.
That could be a cool little fact to put on the website too. I think that's interesting.
Very good. I have others questions, but does anyone have some questions for Katie about Karis? And we can, Katie will be with us through the meeting, so if something pops up, we can come back. One of the things I noticed is tomorrow's Board of County Commissioners meeting is, it says for tomorrow's 10 o'clock business, it's live and it's virtual. So can we still do like a Zoom? Oh, so it's both Zoom, but it's also live.
Yeah, so for now, it's like a hybrid model.
Okay.
I'm not sure if all of the commissioners will be in the hearing room live. In the past, when we've done this, there's only been a couple who come into the hearing room, and the others have stayed remote. So I'm not sure who will be live in the hearing room and who will be remote this time, or how that will exactly work, but you can watch it live remotely the same as you have been, and participate the same as you have been in the past. And I'm not sure if they have public seating in the hearing room. I'd have to look that up, Tammy.
When I watched last week, that was one of the statements, was that people want to be there in person, and of course they would be, masked and socially distanced, but I thought that was a goal, but I didn't know that that was a fact. I just wanted to know if I can still participate.
Sure.
Yeah, great. That's wonderful. I really found it a little more interesting than I thought it would, last week. So I'm going to at least hone in until it gets boring. So let's be honest. Any other questions for Katie tonight? Okay. Let's move on to public comments and questions. And I think I saw Claire Kellogg. I did. Claire Kellogg and Cindy and probably Mark Hilliard, and a phone number. And I'm going to suspect that might be our applicant. But before we launch into that, do we have Cindy, Mark, Claire, maybe Bruce? Do we have any public comments or questions for items not on the agenda?
If you have a comment or question, we'll ask you to use the raise your hand feature. It's in the lower portion of your screen. You should see it. It's just a little button that says raise your hand.
Okay. And if we have a question later, we can come back. Always happy to do that. Okay, let's launch and hope that our applicant, who is, one moment, Mr. Dave Droz, and this is on our one and only land use application for this evening. Let me review it quickly. And for anyone that is joining the meeting, the agendas are always on our website under the blog section and then the date of the meeting. And so that's where you can find this information. This is for application ZO518-20. The owner is Dwayne Knutson. The applicant is Dave Droz. Approximately 3,200 feet southeast of the Oregon City is the location of the site on the west side of Beavercreek Road. It's zoned rural residential farm forest 5 acres. It's 29.8 acres. And it's a rather unique, we don't see these kinds of requests very often. It's requesting a variance to the minimum average lot size for the RRFF5 zoning district to allow for the creation of 6 lots. The variance will allow a reduction in the minimum average lot size from 5 acres to approximately 4.98 acres, allowing for 6 lots instead of 5 lots from this land division. The land division itself has not yet been submitted to the county. So this would be like a fact-finding application to assure that they can do this. Now, when you look at the application, which is also on our website, you'll see a map and go, wait a minute, all of those plots are not 4.9 acres. And that's kind of how it goes. Some are 8 acres, some are 2. It just allows them to split them up and get up to 6. So Katie, can you bring, I don't see Katie there. Is she there? Can you bring Dave on, please? I'm hoping that's him with the phone number ending in 9420. And you're on mute, Dave.
And Katie.
There we go.
Yeah, it's Dave. How you guys doing?
Awesome. Dave, thank you for doing this again. We really appreciate it and know we're taking you away from dinner time. So would you like to share information on it?
Sure. What do you want to know?
Let's see. I don't know. You had mentioned today that there was, it's been quite a project. And so we would just like to know, I don't know, where is it?
I'll just tell you kind of just a rough kind of background about it. So
Okay.
yeah, my grandfather, my late grandfather was the owner. It's now owned by my grandmother, Anelia. And he purchased the property in the 70s from the heiress of the Corningware family. And it's always been a property that I thought was really neat. So I just, over the last 10 years or so, have been saving up and planning to do this development for myself, my sister, my mom, and then our three kind of closest friends. So it's not a developer profit turn and burn. It's actually where I'm going to live forever. So yeah, we're just kind of taking our time trying to do it right. And the variance is, I mean, it's pretty simple deal there, but we just want that extra lot to get everybody that wants to be involved. And yeah, we've done a whole bunch of work on it, and then I'm just waiting on septic feasibility studies to submit for land use, hopefully in the next 4 to 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm. They're all on septic, Dave?
Yeah, it's all septic and well. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And are you doing a shared well for them all, or?
That's a good question. So we're gonna do 3 wells,
Mm-hmm.
1 well per 2 lots. And then the idea is maintaining as much of the forest as possible, just deforesting the building footprints and the roadway and thinning. I've hired a forester that'll be facilitating it and thinning essentially for safety to make sure we don't have any wind tree falls. Yeah, and that's basically it. We're hoping to be able to get it all approved and recorded by the end of 2021.
And we have a question from Bill Merchant.
Dave, can you
bet.
describe where this property is? I was trying to figure it out in my mind, and I had a lot of trouble figuring it out. So could you help me figure out where it is?
Yeah, it's one of those properties that you drive by and never really notice. It's when you're driving on Beavercreek Road, just after you pass Henrici, if you're heading south, if you were to look off to your right, you would see a large section of forest, and it has an easement that's only 60 feet wide, and essentially it's just a gravel road. So there's no real frontage other than the easement access. So it gets missed pretty easily, but if you drive by, you'll see that forest back there. Right now we have about 40 feet cleared for access for the machinery that did the septic test pit digs and whatnot. And yeah, so it's about, I would say, less than a quarter mile from Henrici Road heading southbound.
Okay, so is it I can't think of the name of that road that goes off.
Is that Tioga?
Tioga? Is it north or
Yeah,
south?
it's north of Tioga and south of Henrici. So it's in between, and it's on the east, or it's on the west side of Beavercreek Road.
Right. Okay, now I have it pictured in my mind. Thank you.
And I do want to
Yeah,
mention that we have not received any emails or phone calls or anything questioning or, in favor or opposition to it. And sometimes we do receive those before these meetings. So I just want to note that we didn't.
Okay, sure. Yeah, thanks for the information.
Mm-hmm. Any questions? And we certainly would love to hear from Cindy and Mark or Claire and Bruce if they had any questions as well. Oh, and Jessica Cernak has a question.
Yeah, sure. Just looking at the application, I've never seen one that has an address of no situs.
Oh.
What does that mean?
It's just the county designation. Yeah, it's just, it was purchased without an actual address. So once our land use and everything gets through and approved, there'll be individual addresses for each lot, but I don't believe the parcel will have an address until it's developed. It'll just be a tax lot ID and it'll end at that.
Cool. Okay, thanks. I was curious.
And actually, the county itself assigns those addresses. So I wanted specific numbers when we did our subdivision. They said, yeah, no. So, oh, okay.
Yeah. They let me name the road though. The road's going to be named after my grandfather. So that's kind of fun, but
That's
the addresses, yeah, I don't have any pull there at all.
So will it be Knudsen Road or?
It'll actually be called Poppy Lane.
Oh,
So
Poppy Lane. Oh, we named
Yeah, that was
ours
my-
after my folks' ranch name. So yeah, in the family.
yeah, that was my sister's call. I let her name she wanted to name the road. So that's what she picked. So that was his nickname to the family. We're kind of dedicating the whole thing after his memory. And
That's wonderful.
so we're going for it.
Good. Quite a project. Okay.
Yeah.
We're not seeing any hands up on Cindy, Mark, or Claire and Bruce. Any other questions from the board? Okay. Gosh, Dave, thank you. This was really nice of you to come visit with us. And what we'll do now is see if anyone would like to make a motion on this application. Bill.
I'd like to make a motion that the board recommends approval of Z0518-20 variance so that the variance can go through.
I
And
would
do
like
I
to
have-
second.
And Kenny Cernak seconds. And is there any further discussion from citizens or board? Okay, we are going to need a hand count on this. So Katie, can you, I think, yeah, Katie does that. Can you call out the citizens first for a vote and bring them on?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with Claire Kellogg. Claire, can you unmute?
Yes,
Are you voting in favor of the motion this evening?
yes, I am.
And is anyone else there with you tonight, Claire?
No,
Okay, thank you so much.
Mhm.
And we'll move on to Cindy. Cindy, are you there?
yes,
Cindy, are you voting in favor of the motion tonight?
yes,
And Cindy, is anyone else there with you tonight voting?
Mark is.
Okay,
And yes.
thank you, Mark.
Great, wonderful. And then board?
Kenny,
Yes,
Jess,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Tammy.
Yes, very good.
Okay.
Katie, thank you very much.
No
All right,
problem.
we have a unanimous vote and support. And so it looks like Dave's still listening. What happens next is our corresponding secretary, Jessica Cernak, will send an email to the planner, which is Andrew Yaden, and let him know that we discussed this at our town hall meeting with citizens present. And then she'll give him the vote and, if there were any questions or things like that. So Dave, thanks again, and go enjoy your evening, or certainly you're welcome to stay on because you will be a member of the Hamlet. Yay.
And we look forward to seeing the other application.
Yes, yeah, very good. Okay, we're going to move forward. The original agenda I sent out had 3 land use activities / decisions, but we've received a 4th. They're all on the website. What I like to do with those is just ask if any one of you have any questions about those decisions. Yes, Bill.
I just wanted to mention that I did update the website to include the all of the new decisions.
Thank you very, very much. And I think they were all approved subject to conditions. So those were things that just came in over the last couple months. Our next agenda item are reports. Finance Committee Treasurer Cheryl, we have on the agenda the amounts. And is there anything you'd like to add, Cheryl?
No, there isn't.
Okay. I have actually three things that under Cheryl's umbrella. One would be in talking, if we all can recall, Katie Wilson will have some times that she has to be with the Malala Hamlet and won't be able to attend our Zoom meetings and host our
Malino.
Zoom meetings. Pardon?
Malino.
Oh, excuse me. What did I say?
Malala.
Oh, Lord. Well, that would have been crazy. So in talking with Kelly Lute, they found out that in order to allow like Jessica and Cheryl access to the county, it was going to be like $10,000 to $60,000 a year for the county.
Yeah, we've come up with another solution. That is not a
Yeah.
feasible solution.
So one of the things that Kelly had just mentioned was if you, like, let's say Jessica pays for Zoom, which is like $15 a month, then we just have unlimited. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, that would be an operational expense coming out of our checking account. Right now, we're not paying for using the Grange. Actually, it's a lot cheaper than using the Grange at this point. So I think that's a super logical thing, is to have at least one of us paying for Zoom so that we can do this. And I'd like to hear the board's comments on that.
I actually would love it if we could hold, because we are working on a way to get it for you that would be less expensive.
Awesome.
Even so than that. So because we there's different ways to license it, and so TS, our technology services department, has developed a plan that would allow the Hamlets to have a little more access, but would allow CPOs to possibly share accounts, and so that would bring the cost down. And then if the county purchases it all together, there's additional savings. So I mean, you guys are welcome to talk about how you want to handle it, but I just didn't want anyone to go out and purchase it yet until we know for sure.
Oh no, my goodness, if you can get it cheaper, we just need to be able to run a couple-hour meeting, especially when we have our citizens visiting, that we can keep moving and not have to re-up every 40 minutes. So no, we'll just wait to hear from you, Katie, but thank you. That was awesome news, that it sounds like we're almost at the end of that goal. The next item, I'm sorry, did somebody have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to say we should probably make sure it's set up with either the board at beavercreek.org or one of our Hamlet emails, as opposed to like a personal email.
Okay, that's a really good suggestion. I like that. Katie, is that something you could bring back?
Once we know a little bit more, we'll figure out the best way, what emails to register everything to, so that it's accessible to the group.
Awesome. Okay, the second thing was Cheryl and I got together the other morning, and we really kind of pulled apart the treasure side and things that have been spent. We tried to put our budget together, and I'll talk about the budget here in a second. One of the things that we hit on was back in June and July of actually 2019, we paid for 3 signs, welcome to the Hamlet signs. Unfortunately, all 3 had been stolen. And in talking with the county, and it was Mallory O'Donnell, I think her name was, they can put them in the ground with these huge anchors. So it would pretty much take a tank to get them out. So we said, let's go ahead. And we actually paid for them, I believe in June, Cheryl, if you can, confirm that, June of 2019. And we paid ahead because the end of our budget year was June 30th, and we wanted to get that paid. And it dawned on me in talking with Cheryl, I should go make sure those signs are up. Well, only one is. I went ahead and called Mallory at the county and said, I don't think 2 of the signs ever got put up. And it's been obviously a year and a half. So we need to follow up. And one of the delays was the sign making machine was broken. And I'm afraid we got put back on a back burner. So I want to make sure that at least one of the 2 is put up, because The other one we don't want to put up because it's on Leland. And our boundary is going to go way further west now on Leland. So we'll want to talk about that probably at a board meeting on where those signs would go. But I just wanted to let you know, I followed up on it, and we'll hopefully get at least the one that's missing is the South Beavercreek down there by, well, where Cheryl used to live, that area.
We paid for those signs on June 24th of 2019. We paid for 3 signs.
Perfect. And that's what my record shows. So good. I'm glad that we're making sure those get up, but it's too bad they weren't up. Okay. The final item under Treasury was I had emailed to the board a draft budget and a letter to the Director of Public and Government Affairs, Sue Hildick. And what I tried to do, you guys, was at the board meeting last week, everybody had questions and comments and, had different ideas about the budget, whether to ask for kind of everything or really minimal or kind of down the middle of the road. So Cheryl and I really sat for a long time and discussed each and every item. What is it we really need? What do you think's going to happen? And to be quite honest with you, I really have always felt that if something came up and we needed support from the county, even though it's mid-year, I'm suspectful we could make a request and get support if we needed it. So I don't think this is like a be-all end-all sort of budget, but we came together and came up with the spreadsheet I mailed to all of you, which it was a $3,000 budget from July 1st of 2021 to June 30th of 2022. By the end of this cycle, we're still going to have at least $1,000 in checking. So what that meant is that we would be asking for $2,000 for that year. And the focus being, let's go for low budget items that will really give us the biggest impact, which was social media, getting our entire media program up and running, and then also signage, which I think is important with our new boundaries. But we need to talk about that here tonight because we need to get our budget request in very early this year. Did you get the email? Oh, good. Yay. Cheryl.
I would like to mention that 2 of the items on that Excel sheet, we don't have any control over them. The cost of the post office box and the cost of the power and the electric in the park.
Right.
And
Water.
Tammy and I did not anticipate any water usage again in the park because of COVID.
Right.
But that,
And then,
also,
go ahead.
that also didn't anticipate any other uses we might have in the other park because, again, of COVID, because we can't do anything really.
Right. So we kind of went down each and every item and really said, what's realistic? What do we really need? What do we think we can pull off in that fiscal year? And that's really what we came up with. And, I had actually hoped that we wouldn't have to ask for as much as 2,000, but I think it's very reasonable. And due to COVID, certainly this last year, we didn't even go through the 2,000 or 1,500 we needed. We really only went through 500 of it. So hopefully Sue will see this as working hard to keep the budget down, but to keep us moving right along. Now, I noticed on the letter, which nobody brought up, I clearly don't know how to spell the word crisis. So I have corrected that. So I felt pretty good about getting away with that. And then there was a couple other little minor things I've tweaked to make it sound better, but I'd like to submit this through Katie tomorrow if everybody's good with it. Okay, good. All right, well, and then it sounds like we'll be, once they get into the budget process, we're going to be having a Zoom meeting with Sue and as well as the other hamlets. And that's a little broader, not just to talk about budget and budgeting, but also to talk about PGA and the future and what's gone on and what's planning to go on and just kind of get a director's point of view. So probably near the end of February is what Kelly Lou thought. So, okay. So that all being said, let's see. I think I got through all that. Now, Bill, would you like to report on any transportation activity this last month?
Sure. Let me just give you a little update about the Community Road Fund. I'm the chair of the Community Road Fund Advisory Committee. We met earlier this month and I was re-elected to be the chair again. My term is up at the end of June, but I have also elected to re-up so that I will continue to be there. And I presume that I will continue to be the chair after July 1st, but you know, who knows, somebody might challenge me. The thing to note about the Community Road Fund is this is the money that we get off of the registration fee that all Clackamas County residents pay to register their cars. It's $60 a year, $120 for a 2-year registration. And due to COVID, the ODOT decided to let people have a little bit of free time, and it's still going on. If your tags require you to have your car inspected and get new tags right now, you don't have to. They've extended it on for a while. If your driver's license expired, but you want to renew it and you can't get in there to do that, ODOT says that's okay. Just tell them that, you know, it's COVID and you couldn't get in to do that. Well, that's all very great, except that it also meant that from April through September, we didn't get the money we were expecting to get. That is, Clackamas County didn't get the money it was expecting to get from ODOT because people weren't registering their cars. They didn't need to. So that sort of slowed down. Now, lately in October and November, it picked up a little bit because people started buying cars again. Who knows? So in the meantime, we were about $3 million under what we expected. And it doesn't really matter too much because we were also under what we were expecting to spend. So we didn't have as much money coming in, but we also didn't have as much money going out. So right now we are about $330,000 under our budget. That is, we have $330,000 less than we really expected to be spending, but everything is moving along. A lot of the early items that we had in the Community Road Fund were studies and planning, and those are sort of, you know, flexible, and you can put a little bit more money in or a little bit less money in, and it doesn't affect the whole thing too much. It's still moving forward, just not on the schedule that we'd originally planned. So that was the main thing that I wanted to report. We just didn't get the money that we were expecting. So there's that. I have other reports. If anybody's really interested in this stuff, I'll be glad to share other reports. This is a report that shows the status of Community Road Fund congestion relief projects. And I'd be glad to share all of that, but I don't want to bore anybody. So if anybody is interested, contact me and I will be glad to share that.
Awesome. Bill, thank you. Thank you for all you do. Really appreciate it. All righty. If there's no questions for Bill, let's launch on to old business. One thing I really am so thankful for is I want to give a huge shout out to the volunteers who decorated the corner park. That allowed our citizens to ring in the holidays, and we received a lot of compliments and appreciation. Both Sally and Scott Worthg and their son helped decorate the tree, along with Josh Myers, who owns Tree Care Unlimited. So they got the lights on the tree and got those up and running, and the music. Cindy and Mark Hilliard, along with their neighbor Carla, and I don't have Carla's husband's name, but they put decorations together and did the fence. It absolutely charming and beautiful. It was just neat. It really made it have such a community feel. So Mark and Cindy and Carla, thank you so much for all your time and creativity. And it was, I just wanted to do a shout out to you. Thank you. Also, in January, our board had a strategic planning meeting, and we had a lot on our agenda, but mostly that we know that we have another hard year ahead of us. with COVID and trying to get back on our feet. And so we're not going to probably get a lot of projects done. So that's where we earmark 2 super important areas. And that is, we've learned through COVID and the wildfires that social media and media in general is vital. And that's not just for helping citizens, but to communicate, to bring the community together, to talk about projects and needs and share where people can get help or can donate. So it is not an expensive project. It is a project that is vital to Beavercreek, especially since we've practically doubled in size with the Karis merger. So we have a team, Cheryl and Jessica and Bill, as well as Melissa Logan and myself. We're going to have a Zoom meeting with the Stafford Hamlet because they have an amazing social media program. So we're all diving into it to figure out what we can do. I've kind of separated, well, what does media mean? And there's your social media, which would be Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, things of that nature. There's internet, which is like our website, our email system, as well as the county website. And then there's press, which is like Pamplin Group, Oregonian, our Beavercreek Bulletin, Clacko. And then there's just gobs of miscellaneous types of media, schools, flyers, welcome package, reader board. So there's so many different avenues. And what I'm hoping to see come out of this is that absolutely everything this community does gets announced in some capacity. And afterwards, it's followed up with what happened so that people are made aware of what's coming down the pike and how they can get involved. And maybe if they need support in something, how they can ask for that. So I'm really excited about this project. And you'll be hearing a lot more about it. And then also that ties into really well with the Karis merger, is welcoming all of those citizens and getting them up to speed on how they can participate in the community as a whole. So that was our strategic planning meeting, high level. In new business, it came to light that if someone needs help, Bill Merchant had brought up, you can call 211, and that whatever kind of help you need, they can help you with things. But we thought it would be a really nice idea to just reach out. Were you able to hit with the county yet, Bill, on some of the different things they're offering?
I haven't been able to put any of that stuff on our website yet.
Okay.
I'm still working on that to collect them all. But I did put up on the reader board the need help, call 211, so that people will see that if they're driving by, I hope.
And that can be food, transportation,
anything.
Anything.
I mean, it can even be if you're just really depressed because you haven't been able to get out of your house. If you call 211, they have people who will help counsel you to keep you mentally healthy. So it's just, it's everything. It's not limited to any particular area.
It's wonderful. I also reached out
There's a
to,
hand up,
oh,
Cindy.
yes, Joe?
Cindy's hand's up.
Oh, wonderful. Katie, can you bring Cindy on? There she is. Cindy, if you'll unmute. There we go. Cindy.
This is Mark, and I had a question on the power for the park for
Yes.
next Christmas. Is there anything that we need to go through a process if we want to improve the power or split it off? I'll have the opportunities, and then I'll talk to our local Clackamas electric company over there and see if they can help us with splitting it off. But at the box itself is what I was wondering, since
I'm so glad you asked that, Mark. Actually, that is, in fact, on our budget request. And that is, we've set aside some money for an upgrade, which is desperately needed. You're correct. It's not in good shape, and we were thankful that it limped through the holiday season. But yes, I think that's a really good idea to ask the Clackamas Electrical if they could give us a hand with that. Once our budget's approved, there's no waiting on that.
okay, I'm gonna plan on talking to Scott, who is one of the owners of it, and he's now one of my new neighbors. And if he has some issues with it, the company I work for will probably be able to get in there and give us a hand.
Oh, fabulous. Absolutely. And I know I had taken quite a few notes on some things that needed to be upgraded and done there. So let me find that and then I'll link up with you, Mark.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Great suggestion. So one of the things on community, if somebody needs help, I reached out to who our local nonprofit has donated to, and that's the United Church of Christ, and we all know it as the 10 o'clock church. So I talked to their food pantry person. Her name is Cynthia, and she sent me literally a really nice 2-page email about what they do. And I don't want to read it all, but I am going to ask Bill to get this on our website, or maybe I'll do it. But it talks about, number one, service area. They don't have one. If you're in Estacada, they service people on 82nd Avenue in Southeast Portland. If you need help, they will help you. That is it. And because it's kind of hit and miss, and it's feast or famine when people need help, you just call a number. They make an appointment and you can come pick up, and they don't just do food. They do personal hygiene, home cleaning, hygiene care, a lot of stuff. So if you need it, they'll box it up for you because of COVID, and then you can just come pick it up. The other thing is, one moment, they don't deliver. However, if you do need a delivery or know of someone who does, they actually connect up with me. And I have drivers from when we were driving food to the children, and I have drivers that will take that. So they do in fact deliver. It's just one more step to get me involved in that one. They do go through the Oregon Food Bank. And I know when our 501c3 delivered, it's really pennies on the pound. They spend very little donated money and they get truckloads of food. So they really have an amazing outlet for food and personal and household supplies. But it doesn't mean you can't donate. You can absolutely donate. One of their favorite things to get are children's books. When people come and they know they have kids, they put a few books in there, and that's almost the immediate first thing they thank them for. So kids' books are a big deal. But they'll take money, they'll take any sorts of donations. You just call this number. They have kind of this ongoing list of things that they need badly. Like right now, they need bread, canned fruits and vegetables, shelf-stable milk, frozen fruits and vegetables. Wouldn't have ever thought of that. Fresh fruit in small quantities, coffee, meat in family-size packages, toothbrushes, family-size bar soap, family-size cleaning products, pet food, new socks in various sizes, and new or gently used children's books, as I brought up. So what I'm going to ask Cynthia to do is, as their list of needs change, I'd like to get that on our website, that this is a place to donate or to get help, and here's all the information, and for this month, this is what we're in need. So people that are, hey, I want to do something for the community, I can direct it right to our website, and they're going to know where to go. And if anybody has any other ideas along those lines, let us know, because that's truly what the website's there for. Okay, I think the next item was, hold on. I already said about having 10,000. Okay, good. All right. Something that when we were visiting with the Stafford Hamlet folks that came up, and I just think it's an amazing idea. They've started, and when I say Stafford has just started, they have one, but they're starting a youth program. And they don't even really know what that's going to look like. But I think it's a great idea for Beavercreek. I think it's something that we want to reach out to some of our, like Melissa Logan, Amy Manning, some of the mothers that are community oriented, and see whether or not we might want to promote something. I don't know what it would look like, but in chatting with Kelly Lute, I understand it is a very high priority for the county to get children involved. So I'd like to work with Stafford and maybe work on a youth program. Bill?
I was just thinking, we've had Boy Scouts worked with us before, and Boy Scouts are an organized group, so they're easier to call on because they're organized. And so if we could get them involved with it too, that would be great.
Absolutely. Katie, do you have anything to add to that? Do you know much about what the county's looking for in a youth program?
Yeah, that's actually my job.
Oh.
We are working on a layout or laying out an overview for our entire community engagement program. And one of the main stakeholder areas that we'll be focusing on growing is youth. And so we've done some pilot work in the past to engage young people to learn more about how they'd like to be engaged in county decision making, because in the past we've tried a lot of things that are, adult ideas as to how young people should be participating, and we're wrong. We don't know how they want to participate. And so in our focus group work, we learned a lot about why what we were doing wasn't working, what some recommendations they had were. And so we will be moving forward with some of their recommendations, some of which include being really sensitive to the workload that students already have and their responsibilities within their households. So they recommended like youth-led task forces rather than a full committee because of time constraints and their ability to really commit to a long-term committee or something like that. And they really liked the idea of knowing in advance what it was they were signing up for. So we actually have a youth task force we're recruiting for right now for the climate action plan. Climate was one of the topics that was at the top of the list for young people in the county that they're concerned about. So that will be part of our pilot program. We did a youth task force for school-based health centers last year, and our work got cut short because of COVID. So we're hoping to reconvene that task force so they can finish their task once we can actually get students together again. And we'll continue to pilot different things like that for a while. It's going to take some time for us to kind of get our sea legs. But that was why we were really excited with what Stafford was doing and bringing on a young person as kind of a community liaison to young people with the Hamlet, and to really not make any determinations about what their role would be until she really got her feet wet and understood what it was the Hamlet goals were, could give her feedback, and then maybe chat some more with her schoolmates or friends or whoever to get some more perspective on how young people might integrate into the program and also influence what the Hamlet is doing. So I think that's a great thing you could be doing in Beavercreek also.
Oh, I love it. And I mean, I just like the topics like climate change and diversity. And there's just so many things that are so important in our society right now that we need them involved. And I actually talked to one of our moms and she said, I'm in, I want to be a part of that. So Melissa Logan, who does the bulletin, Bill.
That's awesome.
I just wondered, do we have any idea what the age range is of the kids? I mean, I'm an old guy, so everybody, Katie's a kid to me. So it's just,
not old enough.
So we have been exploring that, and there's a lot of schools of thought as to what it means when we say youth, what we mean. Originally we were thinking high school age, but we've been talking about expanding that up through college. Some of the feedback that other agencies that have more robust youth programming have found out is that in kind of modern times, it's taking longer for young people to kind of leave the nest. And so when you talk about youth, you want to talk about lived experiences. And so if young people are taking more time to attend university, or maybe they can't afford to move out of their parents' home right away. So things that life experiences are happening a little later in life for a lot of young people than did, earlier generations where you moved out at 18 and got your own apartment and did, all those things. It's just a little bit different these days. And so we haven't set a hard and fast age range. But we are thinking maybe like 14 to 20. As a starting point. And then maybe if we get a program going for that, maybe look at like a young adult program that really targets 20 somethings, because that's a different lived experience than later on, so to really be able to not look at the community as this kind of monoculture of people, but talk about lived experiences and what these different communities can bring to the table. We had like the most endearing conversation I think I saw come out of this focus group work is we had 2 interns in our office who helped us run youth-based focus groups, and they reported to the Board of County Commissioners. And at the time, I think it was Commissioner Humberston was asking where young people get their information. And one of our interns was explaining that, a lot of young people start on social media and then, explore what they see on there. And sometimes it starts with something as simple as a meme. And she looked around the board and she could tell that several people on the board did not know what she meant by a meme. And so watching her explain that to the Board of County Commissioners was like one of the most endearing moments, because it just, everyone had to let down their guard and laugh about it. And it was just a really touching moment for, everyone to come together and laugh and learn together. And it was really special.
That's totally cool. Another, besides your groups, I mean, whether it's Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, that kind of thing, 4-H, because 4-H, I mean, it's very expansive from photography. I know when I was going through 4-H, there was some sort of government that you could get involved in. So I just, I like the idea of something already organized. And then the second question I had was, have you looked at other like government youth groups that, in other cities or?
Yes, we've done a lot of research with neighboring cities and jurisdictions that have youth programs. A lot of that was to learn what resources were needed to really sustain a program like that. And what we learned is it's a lot. And we don't really have that right now, which is part of the reason why we're starting small with a pilot program. So we don't build something that's too big for us to manage right away. We don't want to break trust by over-promising and then not having the resources to carry it out. And so, like Multnomah County has a really robust youth engagement program. They have 2 staff dedicated just to that program, just to their youth council. They have a significant budget, but they do really great work. The city of Happy Valley has a fabulous youth council. City of Tigard, city of Beaverton.
Wow.
There's a lot of cities that have, and it's a little bit different when you talk about a city because there's less schools to coordinate. When you talk about a countywide youth engagement program, it gets really challenging. Maybe not so much now that we're better at virtual meetings, but originally one of the biggest challenges we were facing was transportation. How do we get youth from all over the county to one spot? And the answer was, you really can't. It's really challenging to do that if you have youth from Sandy that need to get together with youth from West Lynn, and all you have is an evening after school. That's a really challenging time frame and distance to cover. So, we have to think about all of those logistical issues, but I think virtual meetings is really going to help us.
Right. Bill, did you have Bill?
I just wondered how young do you go? Because I know, a few years ago, we had a concert in the park, and somehow we coordinated with the Beavercreek Elementary School, and we had the elementary kids draw pictures of Beavercreek. And we had so many fabulous pictures of what Beavercreek meant to these kids that it was just great. And it got the kids interested in Beavercreek instead of just, oh yeah, I live with my mom and dad here. It was sort of expanded their minds to say, oh, we live in Beavercreek. That's something bigger than my initial experience. And I thought it was really great that we could do that then. And of course, with COVID, we haven't been able to do stuff like that.
Sure.
But how young are you, is the county looking at to going? Are you looking at?
Yeah, we have some departments that engage children as young as elementary or younger in their programming. Water Environment Services, for instance, has curriculum that they've helped create with elementary school teachers. to help young students learn more about water environment and how to protect their streams and watersheds. We have H3S is working with children, obviously, for public health and different reasons. So we do have some county departments that have reached out to children, young children. But I don't know that that'll necessarily be the initial focus of our youth program. I don't want to count them out because I think you start building advocates very young. And so I fully support the idea of engaging children in idea. They are brighter and listening, and they know a lot more than I think we sometimes think they do. And they're also a great conduit to reach families.
Yes.
So there's a lot of reasons why we should be engaging children. But I don't know that we can do it all at once.
Oh, right.
So
I fully understand that, but I also think that younger children are, like you said, a great conduit to their parents. But
mhm,
they're if you empower a child to think that they can do something, that just makes them powerful for the rest of their life.
Yep.
absolutely.
And particularly in
Absolutely.
government, where so many people think, oh, it's government, I can't do anything about that, I have no influence, they're going to do whatever they want to do, I just have to live with it. If you can get a child just a little bit involved so they think that somebody's going to listen to me,
Mhm.
just that will make a huge difference in their whole life. And I just, I encourage the county to look at engaging children at a younger level as much as they can. And I understand exactly what you're saying about, making sure you get it up and running and not over promising and all that other stuff. I completely understand that, but work on working it down through the ages so that the younger children can get involved as soon as they can reasonably understand what they're doing. I mean, you don't want the second graders doing stuff and thinking, oh well, now I'm really involved. But it's, as you can move people move children into the area where they are actually getting involved and having an effect.
I love that.
And 4-H is 8 to 18. So, I mean, at 8, I was going to weekly meetings and learning how to show
Mhm.
rabbits and horses, and we did it. I mean, absolutely, it's empowering, and we had to sit and listen to speakers. And so I think it's a great idea. I support everything Bill said. Okay, that was all the old and new business I had, unless anyone had anything else to bring up.
Do you have anything about the Planning Commission?
I do. But before I launched into that, I did forget one thing. Oops, sorry. One member, and I know this board has met him before, but Rick Cook, he sits on the board of the Clackamas County Committee for Citizen Involvement. And a couple of weeks ago, he called and he said, the Hamlets get in front of the Board of County Commissioners once a year. And it's unfortunately brief. They're busy, but we just quickly go through what we've been up to and what our goals are and what we've accomplished. And there's really no talk of budget or anything like that. And he said, you guys need to get in front of them more often. And I'm like, okay. So Bill and I got together and chatted with the Stafford board, Hamlet, and they agreed. They were like, yes, I think we should. So I volunteered to be the first, and the Board of County Commissioners has a business meeting every Thursday of every week. So last Thursday, you get a 3-minute just citizen involvement. You can talk about anything. And so I just went on and gave a 3-minute report about that the Hamlets would be coming in front of the Board of County Commissioners at least once a month. So Beavercreek would be there once a month, Stafford once a month, maybe Malina, we'll see. And then I just kind of did what we just did. We talked about, we had our strategic planning meeting and that our focus is going to be bringing on Karis. I thank the Board of County Commissioners again for changing the boundary, that it's going to be a really positive result. And we hope that they'll be pleased with the things we have planned, and talked about social media. We talked about wildfires. So we had 2 guest speakers prior to us speaking. One was on the wildfire update as well as COVID. So I spoke to the wildfires that you don't realize what's going on. There's still over 1,000 people that are in shelters, over 1,000 in Clackamas County from the fires. And astronomical amounts of money and time are being contributed to getting dangerous trees down and mitigating mudslides and floods. And so much of that is going on. And one of the things I'd mentioned is some things during the wildfires went well as far as getting help from the county, and there could be some improvement. We were looking forward to having a survey so we could share that. And it is in fact something that is going to happen, but now I truly understand why it's not happening right away, because there's a lot going on, just trying to get these poor people, back into a home. So it was really valuable to get me to listen to the Board of County Commissioners again. I used to do that, and then to be able to speak. And actually, one of the commissioners did make some comments, and that was really nice. They acknowledged our presence, and my impression was that they appreciated us being there. So I think it's something. I hope this board. Bill actually has volunteered to be our next Beavercreek speaker. That's the third Thursday of every month at 10 o'clock. But anybody, absolutely anybody, can join the Zoom and listen to what's being talked. And if you have a comment, you got 3 minutes. You can speak as a citizen. And so I really encourage everyone to do that. Okay, that's the end of new news. The other thing other business was Planning Commission. It's kind of been a feast or famine. Back in November, we met on both the Park Avenue, I'm sorry, hold on. The short-term rentals, which by now should have gone through the Board of County Commissioners, but it got delayed for the same reason we hear everything got delayed. It's coming up soon. The Board of County Commissioners will be hearing the short-term rentals and making the final decisions on that. Another one was housing strategies. We had a huge work session on how many are homeless, that homes are not affordable, and what is Clackamas County doing with regard to homelessness and affordable housing, along with other counties, the state, other cities. It's a huge program. So we got up to speed on that. So then nothing after November. We met again in January, where we talked about the Department of Transportation's long-range planning work program for the next 2 years, the stuff we had submitted, as well as other CPOs, and just went through what hit their plan and when they plan to accomplish those things. And quite frankly, Bill, I could probably get you that list to throw on our website, what the planning department's doing. So I will do that. We also talked about the Park Avenue community project. That's where the Max train, I think it's orange or green, stops there along McLaughlin Boulevard and Park Road. And it's over there by the old Bomber restaurant area, the Elks Club. Okay. That whole community, because it's the end of a train line, it's an old community. And so the county is looking at that area to bring it up, like almost like, what do they call it, where they take an area and they update it, urban development. So a lot of plans are in the works. They brought a lot of citizens, designers, government people together and said, what could we do here? What do the citizens want? Well, they want a lot of area to walk and to enjoy their community. And so it was quite a presentation, and I thought it was something incredibly well put together. One of the biggest problems is getting people across McLaughlin Boulevard without getting hit. And it's a big, it's a big challenge because it's a very busy road, and it's only going to get busier. And they did instill, make suggestions that'll run before the Board of County Commissioners, and that is maybe to minimize certain businesses on McLaughlin Boulevard, like car lots, because there's lots and they take up a lot of room, and they don't, are not conducive to live work environments. So they're looking at that kind of thing. So Planning Commission's, like I said, kind of busy and then not busy. And it sounds like this summer we're going to be very busy. So I'll keep you up to date on what's going on there. And I think that's it. Anybody else? Board members, don't forget to peruse the bylaws and give Bill input. Katie, I will have the budget request to you tomorrow. And I think that's it. Anybody else? Mark or Cindy? Okay. I think we're there. Yay. I think we'll go ahead and adjourn this town hall meeting at 8:07 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Mark and Cindy, and thanks you guys very, very much.